The American Empire is close to its end. Since its disastrous invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan after 9/11, the country has lost most of its former international respect, declined economically, and seen its global military influence decline amid an increasingly multipolar world. A 2017 Pentagon report assessed that the American empire is collapsing, and the historian Alfred McCoy has predicted that the U.S. will be finished as a hegemonic power by 2030. What will replace America as the globe's dominant power? How should Americans respond to the economic and political disasters that will befall them in the coming years as the empire collapses? The answer to the second question is fundamentally related with the answer to the first. After the American empire goes down, it won't be replaced by a new imperialist world power like the British Empire was. Unlike Britain or America did, the new up-and-coming superpower, China, doesn't intend to use its elevated global standing to build an empire. China's government, which is guided by the principles of Marxist-Leninism, has no interest in exploiting other countries for profit. China's private corporations function under the control of the Chinese Communist Party, which hasn't allowed them to economically take over any country. China's foreign loans don't follow in the historical pattern for imperialism, with most of them being socialist state investments that have the purpose of giving much-needed financial aid to the countries which have suffered under Western imperialism and colonialism. Last month, China issued a white paper on the country's military strategy, which stated that it will never seek hegemony, and everything we know about China's political system and recent history shows we can trust this promise of theirs. China's most powerful allies, Russia and Iran, aren't imperialist either. Contrary to Russia-phobic narratives, Russia has not recently shown intentions of militarily expanding its global power, with Putin's interventions in Georgia and Ukraine having been done essentially in response to NATO's aggressive expansion efforts. And since Iran doesn't export finance capital to hold back the development of colonized countries, it's not imperialist by any honest definition. Largely thanks to China's nature as a socialist state, these three rising powers will shape the world in a way that doesn't follow in the pattern of civilization's empires. They'll partner with Syria, Venezuela, North Korea, and the other victims of American imperialism to try to avoid future wars amid a world that's struggling through climate destabilization, economic contraction due to the disastrous legacy of the dead American empire, and the collapse of global capitalism. Since imperialism is crucial for the functioning of capitalism in its current form of globalization and super profits, the end of the age of empire will bring a global collapse that causes the capitalist class to react with repression. As America loses its global standing in the next decade, the dollar will continue to decline, leaving the country in a depression that will affect the entire world. The loss of the capitalist class's tools for carrying out imperialism will cripple the ability for the economy to function within America and within the core imperialist nations. Climate change and financial bubbles, themselves the symptoms of capitalism and empire, will further destabilize our economic and social systems. This will cause the world's capitalists to turn to fascism to maintain their control, a process that we're already seeing as Western countries become more and more militarized and as democracy declines throughout the capitalist world. Yet the fall of America also has the potential to bring vast progress for the anti-capitalist and anti-colonial movements. The fracturing of the U.S. NATO power establishment will cripple the ability for Israel to continue its occupation of Palestine, give China the ability to spread its socialist economic model into the developing world, and make the US government more vulnerable than ever to a socialist uprising. By the 2030s, American power will be tremendously diminished, while China will be economically and military advanced enough to surpass the US as a global power. Xi Jinping and the CCP's other leaders are calling this eventuality Project 2035, where China makes itself into the most powerful nation so that it can protect its allies and aid the workers' revolutions of that era. We Americans can help with Project 2035 by spending the next decade by resisting the remaining imperialist activities, building the movement for revolutionary socialism, and defending China and its allies from the imperialist propaganda that the capitalist class is using to try to break global socialist solidarity. Let's make the collapse of the American empire into a gargantuan loss for global capitalist power.